Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland has resigned from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's cabinet. In a statement, Freeland says Trudeau told her on Friday he no longer wants her to serve as Finance Minister. She says he offered her another position in cabinet, and that led to her resignation. So let's kick things off with that topic this morning. Our political panel is Adam Olsen, a former BC Green Party MLA, now lead negotiator for the Sartlip First Nation. Moe Sihota, a former BC NDP cabinet minister, currently operates his own lobby company. And Rachael Segal is a political strategist, host of the Beyond a Ballot podcast. She worked on the Conservative Party of BC's election campaign. Hello and a very good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Did you hear the news before coffee, after coffee? When did it come to light for you, Mo?
About an hour ago.
About an hour. Before we jump in with some reaction, I want all of you to hear just a clip from the Minister of Transport, Anita Anand. I mean, she was involved in a media scrum this morning. Just listen to her responding to the news.
Chrystia Freeland is a good friend, someone I work with very, very closely. As President of the Treasury Board and Minister of Transport, this news has hit me really hard, and I'll reserve further comment until I have time to process it.
So that's quite an emotional response from the Minister of Transport there. And Mo, as a former provincial cabinet minister yourself, I mean, anyway, what's been going through your mind since you've heard the news?
Well, funny enough, I think that a lot of the problems that the Liberal government has lays at the feet of Chrystia Freeland. She never conveyed a sense of competence. She was a very poor communicator, and by her own admission in her letter today, she says that she was not of one mind with Mr. Trudeau on the economic and fiscal policies of the federal government. So, in as much as people can be critical of Mr. Trudeau, you have to understand finance ministers and premiers or prime ministers have to be joined at the hip. Take, for example, here in British Columbia, we have a finance minister in Brenda Bailey, someone who's highly competent, a successful entrepreneur, good relationships with the business community, and of one mind with David Eby in terms of how to deal with the challenges that we face. We're not going to go through austerity. We're not going to raise taxes. We're going to grow the economy to deal with these types of challenges that the province faces. So when you talk to Ms. Bailey, for example, she'll talk about life sciences, critical minerals, clean energy as sort of the growth areas of our economy. She'll talk about getting permits out faster for forestry and mining, and investments in areas like film and television, tourism, and FIFA and the Invictus Games, and what that means to British Columbia in terms of improving the standing of small businesses and individuals.
Mo, can we just keep this focused on federal politics at the outset here? I can see the road you're going down, and I just want to keep things focused. We've got a major announcement involving Canada's finance minister right now and deputy prime minister. How do you anticipate the federal NDP is going to respond to this?
Well, they'll probably say something to the effect that the Trudeau government needs time in opposition to sort themselves out. That makes perfect sense. But I do want to go back to my point without talking further about the provincial situation. The point is you need a leader of a political party and a leader of a government and a finance minister that are of one mind. You need a finance minister that is a good communicator. And she lacked all of those skills. And frankly, I think the change was overdue in finance.
Yeah, okay, overdue, but interesting that it's happening on the same day that she was due to deliver her fall economic statement as well. Let's move on. Rachel, how do you anticipate the federal Conservatives could, capitalize on this whole situation? Her resignation, just before that, Housing Minister Sean Fraser announced that he was stepping down as well. He said it was more for family issues and that type of thing, but that he will not be running again for the Liberals. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think that today the people that are losing are Canadians. I mean, we are in an economic climate where we want to know what's happening. I'm thinking about the reporters who are currently in lockup in Ottawa and can't get out of lockup because we don't even know if this fall economic statement is going to be read today. I think that the Conservatives are going to see what is going to transpire. Pierre Poilievre is very strategic in his messaging. I know he was supposed to speak at 10 a.m. this morning and decided not to, which which is, I think, a good thing. Let's see where the cards fall as this day unravels. I mean, it's changing minute to minute. I was in Ottawa for many years. I was there for 6 years under the Harper government. And this is giving me 2008 Christmas party vibes, where we were at the Conservative Party Christmas party thinking, is the government going to fall tomorrow? You'll remember, Gloria, the Prime Minister went and asked the Governor General to prorogue Parliament. And so for me, today the question is, what will Trudeau do to try and reset or hold this off? They are supposed to rise tomorrow. And so will he go to the Governor General and ask for prorogation at the end of this day? This is going to be a terrible day for Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, regardless of how we slice it. They are slated to lose a by-election here in British Columbia at the end of the day. All the polls are saying that's what's going to happen. So starting with your Deputy Prime Minister, and I want to emphasize, she is the Deputy Prime Minister. She's not only the Finance Minister, which is the second most important cabinet position, but to Moe's point, she may have had challenges in communicating. I may have spoken about some of her challenges many times on radio before, but I do want to give her credit that she's been there a long time, and Trudeau did have enough faith in her and their relationship to keep her as his deputy prime minister for some time. So this is quite a big move that's happening in Ottawa.
Sure. And I'm glad you brought up the by-elections happening in Cloverdale, Langley City. I do want to get to that a little bit later, but let's just get initial thoughts. Adam, what was going through your mind here and just the state of the Liberals and where Chrystia Freeland fits into the picture?
Well, I think it's absolute chaos. I think that Trudeau and Freeland had been very much aligned, and what it seems like here, and at least just reading the articles about this announcement, was that the Prime Minister notified senior members of his cabinet that there was going to be a shuffle, and it looks like Chrystia Freeland got out with her announcement that she's resigning before any of that could happen later on this week. So clearly, the Liberal Party of Canada's House is in turmoil, and that's a problem for all Canadians because they are, whether you support the Liberal Party of Canada or you're a supporter of another political party, they are our government. And when you see chaos at this in these highest offices of the country, it will send waves through all of the other offices. Our civil service is going to be looking over their shoulder and wondering what's next. The other opposition parties, of course, will be rubbing their hands together with some level of joy to see their competitors in the state that they're in. But really, I think when it comes right down to it, the economic uncertainty that we're facing, that Canadians are facing individually, personally, is now, I think really come to a head politically. And it's not the way that any political party wants to end a year, that's for sure. And it's very meaningful in that this is our government.
Yeah, well, it's been really interesting gauging some of the reaction from our listeners this morning as well. Rosie writes in from Comox, Trudeau will find he has miscalculated Freeland's value to the government. I think it's time for him to take his walk in the snow, as another listener suggested, much as I don't like the alternative or trust it. If Mark Carney's smart, he'll stay away from this sinking ship. His moment could come in the future, as we're going to need good people to rebuild the Liberal Party. So when you hear that, Moe, and you hear Adam talk about opposition leaders rubbing their hands together. Is Jagmeet Singh, in your view, is this an opportunity for him to rub his hands together and say, woohoo, let's go?
Well, there's an opportunity here for him to rise above all of that, be Prime Minister-like, and start laying out a vision for Canada that resonates with people. It's obvious to anybody, whether it's Chrystia Freeland or Prime Minister Trudeau, the Liberals are in free fall, and they're not going to be able to wrest it between now and the next election. That's the reality of the situation that they're in. That creates opportunities for other political parties, but how they conduct themselves, and if they rub their hands in glee and just simply try to sort of make the wound deeper, that's not going to serve them well. It's time for them to rise above the occasion. This country is under attack on the issue of tariffs. It is a country that needs to come together. Mr. Trudeau obviously going to try to do that with the Council of Premiers. For Mr. Singh or for the leader of the Conservative Party to try to take advantage of it in the sense that your question implies is not the right way to do it. It's time to rise above the occasion and prove and demonstrate that you're fit for the job of being Prime Minister. Rise above it.
Okay, let's just take a little bit of a pause there. Karis has got some traffic notes that she wants to share.
Power is out for over 700 customers in Delta around the Boundary Bay Airport area. So watch out for flashing lights at intersections. Also, it sounds like power is actually out at the airport itself, Boundary Bay Airport. In Burnaby, there's a crash. Kingsway at Waltham Avenue. That's westbound in the 2 right lanes on Kingsway. Weather for Metro Vancouver today, a bit of a showery day this morning. Rain this morning off and on. Rain this morning off and on this afternoon, a high of 7 degrees. And on the text line, Bob says it's refreshing to see a politician that will put the interests of Canada first rather than their own self-interest. Brava, Chrystia.
Thank you very much for that, Karis. And yes, we are discussing with our political panel the breaking, developing news this morning that Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland has resigned from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's cabinet just hours before the federal government was expected to deliver the fall economic statement. We have reporters in lockup right now going through that particular statement. But Rachael Segal, you brought up something interesting a few moments ago, and that is the timing of this. We have a by-election here in Cloverdale, Langley City today. So how significant could this development be for the future of the Liberal leadership? What are you watching for in today's vote, I suppose?
Well, I think that, the Conservatives were slated to win this by-election regardless. And I don't want to discredit the work that has been done on the ground in Langley City and that campaign, and the fact that she has done an incredible job door knocking. This is not going to be, I think, reflective of everything happening in Ottawa, but it doesn't help. I mean, for all of those people that were willing to kind of hold their nose and walk to the polls and vote for Trudeau and the Liberals, now they're kind of thinking, well, is he going to be Prime Minister tomorrow? Are we going to see an economic statement today? Are there more cabinet resignations coming? Because like you said, Sean Fraser, I went to bed last night thinking Sean Fraser was going to be the news this morning. Who would have thought Chrystia Freeland? And on timing, Trudeau said this to Chrystia Freeland on Friday, knowing very well that Monday she was going to be giving this economic statement. When we talk about the calculus of this government, we've said so many times, what is the calculation? And this panel talked about the $250 checks and the GST rebate. And we said, what is the calculation? What was Trudeau's calculation on Friday by telling his finance minister that she was out right before giving this statement? And I just want to say on Mo's point with Jagmeet Singh, I mean, Singh seems to be the person with the most trust in this prime minister currently, definitely more than any of his cabinet members. We'd like to see Singh come out. I'm interested to watch what his messaging is going to be today. Will he finally vote against this government, put us in an election, or will there be more feet dragging by this NDP government, sorry, they're not in government federally, opposition party to continue this mess that is the Liberal Party right now that's governing Canada.
Okay, Moe Sihota, again, with the federal by-election in Cloverdale, Langley City today, what does the political instability at the federal level mean for BC? Again, we were expecting to hear the federal government's border enhancement plan today as well.
Yeah, look, there has to be a level of cooperation between the federal government and the provincial government. And when the federal government is in disarray, it's unlikely that it will be as solid and as rigid as is required. I thought Premier Moe from Saskatchewan hit the nail on the head the other day when he said we actually need an election just to kind of restructure things and to make sure that there's stability and relationships between the federal government and the provincial government. So my guess is that like Mr. Singh can't call a vote today. The House rises this week. But I believe by March we'll be into an election.
Okay, on that note, Adam, we only have 30 seconds left here. What challenges you see that Freeland's resignation could pose to federal-provincial relations?
Well, I mean, I think that the topic that we were going to talk about here today before this announcement was about the tariffs, and I think that it's entirely connected. The fact of the matter is the British Columbia economy. Should President-elect Trump bring in the tariffs as he suggested, will cause wreak havoc in our economy. And so we need a provincial government that's strong, and we need a federal government that's got their act together. Last week I was talking about having the opposition in this province get their act together. Well, we need our federal government to get their act together.
Yeah. Okay.
Soon.
Thank you for that to all of you. Adam, Rachel, Moe, we especially appreciate you doing a little bit of a shift. I know we went in thinking we were going to talk about one thing. Thank you very much for responding to this breaking news today. Yeah. All right, that's Adam Olsen, former Green Party MLA, lead negotiator for the Sartlip First Nation, Moe Sihota, former NDP cabinet minister and lobbyist, and Rachael Segal, a political strategist who worked on the BC Conservative election campaign.